What's good, internet? Natalie is still in.
Stop! No, you can't say that.
Wow. Could be anything.
Could be anything, it's true. What's good, internet? Welcome to the holidays. Welcome to Waypoint Radio.
With some other friends, like
Well, now no one
God,
is
you
talking
fucking
about.
what? That's deleted.
We deleted that bit.
I don't
Did
want to
Well, now we have to delete this.
murder me.
Not a murderer.
I don't know, but could
All right, take 3. Can you just bleep all those things?
Yeah, I
and
will.
Keep it all
I'm gonna-
in?
We're just gonna run from here.
yeah.
okay.
Welcome to the holiday episodes here of Waypoint Radio. We are looking back at the year and at the decade for all of our favorite video games, and also tomorrow, at some point this week, some other stuff, also non-video game things.
If only the audience had the preamble that we had.
We had
leading
an
up to this
incredible-
podcast. You'll never hear it.
You'll never
Never.
hear it. Too many personal details.
But
From one, Natalie Watson and her times in Final Fantasy XIV.
I've been having some times.
how many times?
I think I'm at like 265 hours now.
Okay.
Okay.
Look, She
When
told,
did- hold
she
on,
told
hold on.
us 300. We get on the podcast.
Uh-huh.
It's 260.
Hold on, though.
It's a great
When
impression.
did you start?
September 27th.
Very good. Those are the
It
voices
is. What
of
is the
Patrick,
date? Today's the December 6th.
Patrick
just so everyone
Klepek,
do the math.
Ricardo Contreras, Rob Zachney here with a beer. Also, I have a beer. Cheers.
Cheers.
to-
Yay.
What the fuck? Where's the beers?
You got to get one. It's on the.
Which one do you want? You want the Christmas? You want the Two-Hearted Ale?
It's a celebration.
Disease?
I can do this
Fresh
one.
hop.
It's a
Careful, there's a little... Careful.
Tommy.
It'll be...
It's gonna be fine. Just
You're
gotta
good.
be
You're
careful.
It's fine.
We are here to talk about
Hold on, we got to talk about last night. It's short.
what happened last night.
So,
The best.
well, for one, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, by the time people hear this, the Bears will have already been...
They're in the playoffs.
They're in the playoffs.
So are the Eagles
They
with
ran
the
the
worst
table.
record.
We're gonna meet again. No, we
this-
wouldn't.
Oh
We
my
wouldn't.
God.
Well, no, we could because you could win your division and host a wild, and then you would host a wild card.
wild card game.
Fuck, that'd be great.
For that, I wish we were still here. It's not gonna happen. The Eagles are gonna figure out how to fuck it up even further.
So yeah, so are the Bears. They're gonna lose to the Packers in a week and it'll
And
fall
that'll
apart.
be over.
Anyway, Rob and I we're out here recording these podcasts in person. Just of all the fact that Thursday night football happened to be the Bears, and then we're in town together, and we're like, this is awesome. Like we're gonna go watch the game together. And I allowed Rob to pick where we went, and he picked a good place. Like it's gonna be a little.
He said it like it was
You
an
give me the
exception to
eye
rule.
as though there hasn't been multiple instances of you being given responsibility over where to go and then things go awry.
Everyone has a great time.
Eventually,
That's
we
true.
get there.
So he picks a great place, and we get and he looked up specifically like we needed a sports bar, right? Like
Yeah.
not just a TV on, but a place that would like eventually switch the audio
Yeah.
to listen to the game. And we
What is that? Why are you?
No,
shaking
I'm
your
saying
head?
it is not that sort of place, sadly.
no, it is a place that people go when they say like I want to go to a sports bar,
You don't
and
show
so
them
they're
the
showing
towel?
sports,
Yeah.
but no one is watching
Patrick,
the
there's
sports.
a detail I didn't tell you. When I
Okay,
looked at,
pause. So like all his like giving me the shade, and like this is it. There's always a fucking but.
The next day.
so
also,
the
Yeah,
thing
I
that-
didn't. He hasn't told me this yet.
The thing that convinced me it was a sports bar was that indeed on their website they did sort of foreground what a good sports bar they are for Six Nations Rugby. Which, in retrospect, maybe does not imply they're a sports bar for North American football or any other American sport, but might be for the sort of people who make a point of being into Six Nations Rugby.
So this is an important point because we get there. They got a nice beer selection. We got a good spot where we can see a ton of TVs.
sure.
We
Big
both,
TVs, presumably.
Big enough. Big enough. They could have been bigger.
A lot of them.
But a lot of them. So it made up for the lack of size. But we realized quickly, like, it's like they're doing the pre-show and it's like the sound's not coming on. And then like we asked the guy, the waiter, and he's like, is there any chance we could turn the sound on? And he's like, he gave us a look of like, do you know where you are? Like he's like, I'll ask. We never got an answer, but that was the answer we got.
The answer was, we'll ask.
So we're like, shit, we had already ordered food. We had a beer. I was like, well, maybe we'll just watch it silently and we'll then like go, I'll call some other place and ask if they have the sound down and we'll just walk or take a cab. And then I don't know how this occurred to me, but in a fit of like 2.5 beers in, I just look at Rob and I was like, I think I know how to solve this.
Patrick Lathe of Heavens, a fucking app into being.
And I had heard about this app years ago, and it was just like, I don't know if it's still on my phone. I don't even know what it's fucking called. And I just started searching through my folders, and I looked at my TV folder, and it was with Tunify.
Yeah, I think so.
The pitch is you point it at what it's for being at a sports bar, and if you can't get the audio on and you want to listen to the game, you point it at the TV, and then you can listen to the audio.
What?
Austin,
Excuse me?
This thing fucking worked from across the room.
No.
Like, I was far... Like, Patrick, you were zooming in, trying to, like, fill the frame.
Yeah.
Is it a mic? What is it?
So I
tuning
believe what it
in?
no. I believe what it is doing, it is looking for graphics,
Right,
like
to
a
match.
Fox logo, or it's
Right.
like it sees football, it scans for what's on football,
Right.
and it pulls up some web stream. But like
Right.
it pulls up the Fox broadcast audio, and it even has a little slider for latency, so you can like line up like their voices in real time to get it to work. And so we're these fucking
I'm gonna beep
assholes.
this. This is Yahoo Anime
This is
all
Yahoo
over
Anime.
again.
What?
They're gonna shut. We're gonna get this shut
I'm
down.
gonna make sure to beep this.
This has been around for years.
Is this legal?
So was Yahoo Anime.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm ever going to use this again. This was like I've had this for years, and it was like a once in a lifetime moment where, and we like, you know, like when you go to like any sports game and like people want to hear like their local sports announcers. So you'll see like the older guys like with like a headphones on listening to the announcers
yeah,
even
yeah.
though they're
Yeah.
at the game.
Yeah.
We were those guys
Amazing.
in a bar, and the Bears started crushing the Cowboys. Just like Rob is both thinks it's funny and is also increasingly annoyed that I'm standing up on my seat and like cheering, like actively rolling.
That's what you meant by embarrassed.
There was clearly a moment where like I was getting up to stand up, and you were just like, Patrick.
This was like last year when we went out to team dinner for the holidays, or maybe that was for the stream, and Patrick got that like dirty stare down at that restaurant from those two ladies who left because of how loud
Great, get
Patrick
out.
was.
We were
I
spending a
still
lot of
don't
money at that
remember
restaurant.
that.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember ladies staring at us.
There was ladies
Exactly. I don't
behind
remember that either
Patrick.
because we were doing just
we were
fine.
having fun.
We were having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, Ralph. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you were being really obnoxious at the bar that we were at for PAX in
Oh,
Boston.
that's true.
Fair.
That's true.
Rob and I were like,
Oh yeah.
in Kato, you too.
God, remember that?
You know, so we were both in
Remember we were
it.
gonna
Sometimes
leave?
you just gotta live it up a little.
Remember we were gonna leave, and that guy started playing. They started playing a fucking was it a Radiohead song?
The Sonic hat.
The guy with the Sonic hat. Remember we were like, "Wow, I'm surprised you never heard Radiohead." Da, 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 da. And we started to leave, and then they started playing literally the Radiohead
Yeah.
song that we were
Oh,
talking
that
about.
was wild.
That was wild.
That
Good
was
trip.
amazing.
Good
Yeah.
trip.
Could be.
Yeah.
That's
So-
when you sat on the floor.
Patrick keeps getting increasingly hype as Mitchell Trubisky turns in the performance of his life. Like, it was everything you've wanted from the Bears for years. Like, just demolishing the Cowboys.
And that's what's the Cowboys, who, even though they're a bad team at this point, they're still the fucking Cowboys.
Yeah.
So you still get an extra little bit of joy.
And they're a good team with a bad season, which
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
is an
yeah.
important
That's
difference.
important.
And it's just like really good. You're starting to get the reaction shots of dudes on the sidelines looking like,
They're yelling
how
at
did
each
my
other.
life end up in this? Like, how did it come to this moment?
right. Not just demolishing the team on the field, but like driving a wedge between people.
Oh, you're seeing, Jason Witten, who like retired from the NFL, went to become a commentator, was convinced to come back to the Cowboys. He's just screaming on the sidelines, and you're like, "We're destroying people."
Yeah.
like
Jason Garrett like crumbled into dust and blew away live on.
And Patrick is
the
like, "Woo!"
so. But the other thing is, this
What's
crowd,
the vibe? Yeah.
this
Yeah.
crowd is actively sports hostile. Like people are
This
there.
is not Six Nations rugby.
They are there for a quiet, like fake English pub vibe, and here we are.
crucial
like-
detail we have left out.
Oh, yeah.
So we're looking So the game starts, and the Bears immediately give up like a touchdown, and we're like, fuck, this is gonna be one of those games. We're actually just gonna have to sit here and talk to each other and pretend the game is. I mean this in the sense of like we're not gonna enjoy the game
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
We're just gonna have to. It'll just be
Maybe
there.
we'll leave at the half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the Bears just go on a tear through the rest of the game and it just crush them. And we're screaming, we're having fun and having a good time. And I remember early when we sat down, I remarked on it. I was like, this is a sign of a good bar. Like, this is fun. And I looked at the menu, and the menu said mystery beer and shot, $8.
Bruh.
So
And I pointed it out, not thinking in any world is Rob on board with this. Like, it's a cute thing for me to say.
But then Mitch Trubisky threw an interception and a bad one. He tried to throw it out of bounds.
Yeah.
But he fell
missed
short.
out of bounds.
He fell short of out of bounds
To the defense.
Now that's the Mitch Trubisky
what-
I know.
You know what's inbounds, Austin? Cornerbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he turns to me, he's like, we're getting one of those. And I'm like, oh, look, not me.
What'd you get?
So, one, we order it, and the guy like, not amused. Just like, really? You assholes are going to order this?
The sports vibe. This is just an atmosphere thing. No one's supposed to get it.
People don't actually order
Right,
this. And so we order it, and then it takes a while for us to get it. And then,
Because they're trying to find the brown paper bags.
yes. And when it said Mr. Beer and a shot, I thought I got to choose the shot, and I was like, I don't like doing shots, but I was like, I can do whiskey. I
it's
can
a
do whiskey,
mystery
and then I could
shot?
and then I could sip it. I was like, oh, dude, like if we get almost anything other than whiskey, like,
You're gonna get sick.
yeah, I was like, I can't do that. Like,
We have
I
to
will-
record a bunch of podcasts.
Well, no, but
today.
literally, like, I just won't be able to drink it. Like, I'm just gonna have to dump it. Like, it's just not gonna work out. We're like, let's see what happens. And then I noticed out of the corner of my eye, I was like, shit. I've been to one of these places before back in my 20s. Like, when they give you a free shot, what they're giving you is like a small mixed drink. And so what we got the first time was something lemonade-y, which I think later explains why.
I think it was a bee's knees.
Which later explains why Rob was like, the right side of my stomach hurts a lot. And I was like, yeah, because I think one of those shots was like something deeply acidic that we took. And then we did it one more time when they were on a tear. Both times, let's be clear, prompted by Rob Zachney. And he goes, we're getting another one of those. Like, cool, let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it.
And the second one, thus, put an end to the run of these because we got something that was much bigger and tasted like marshmallows.
And fuck you. It's like
Ew.
marshmallows, pineapple, and fuck you.
Yeah.
That's not a mix I want.
No, it was bad.
gross.
But the Bears won.
Bears won.
They're all happy.
It actually turned out well because being mixed drink shots, there wasn't that much alcohol. It was just like, they were just
it was
goofy.
sugar mostly.
And we got good beers, actually.
Oh, yeah, no,
And we paid way less for the beer because that's always the trick. Is like you
Mystery
can't
beer.
pick.
Yeah, it's an all right bar.
But they
It's
had
gonna
no
have-
bad beer.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
the-
Yes.
like-
they might not have gotten what
I think you got a
necessarily-
Tecate, or we got a Pacifico.
The second round, they were trying to break us a little bit. So, but
drink it.
Oh my
I
god,
just
that
got-
one! I got the sour ale. I hate sour ales.
Yeah,
They knew.
He got a ghost beer, and apparently that's a thing. And a bunch of our followers on Twitter were like, "Oh, that's delicious." And I was
a
like,
ghost
"Does not
beer?
seem."
Which was,
like
which
good.
was right after Rob. I tasted it and was like, Rob, I don't mean to be like weird, ask you to drink my beer, but like you need to taste this. And he had it. And was like, oh boy.
It was so like, you know how you like
face
it is
puckering?
important-
Yeah.
No. It is important to be able to categorize things.
Sure.
Like just to feel
What is an
comfortable with,
immersive sim, for instance?
but you need to like. Okay, I know like roughly what is in this. I know the flavors. Like this is the thing I put in my mouth. And I
Sure.
know roughly what it tastes of. This triggered no associations or memories whatsoever.
That's why it's a ghost beer.
Dude, it was terrifying. It was like drinking void. Weird, fucked up, sour void.
You're honestly selling me on it.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, it was like this is a thing that exists in the Dishonored world,
Right.
Like absolutely, like this is like,
That's why it's called a ghost. It's like you get a ghost rating
Yeah.
at the end of an immersive sim level. You get seen.
and also it doesn't call itself a beer. It was like it's a malt beverage, which now
That's
Yeah.
implies
Okay.
things,
Yeah.
but apparently this is a well-regarded brand. So like it is like a type of beer, I guess.
What was it
but
called?
You took the photo.
Long
we'll
Island Slow.
Oh, that's a good name.
It is a good name.
What's it called?
I think Long Island Slow or Island Slow.
It's a good name.
Sorry, I don't know.
Wow.
So anyway, Tunify. You can aim it at a TV and you can listen to a
make it-
broadcast.
yeah.
Probably
Also,
not
it's
like
great-
HBO, but for sports.
you should try it with HBO though.
See what
Let
happens.
us know.
Wow.
I think what happens is because one time when I aimed it, it didn't quite catch it. And it's like, couldn't find the channel. Oh, the other thing you can do is called Quick Tune. And I don't know what it's doing, but it just brought up a couple of broadcast feeds you could just pick from, and then it would send it to your
Yeah, it
headphones.
worked. But it was great. There were a couple of people who left the bars. I heard. You did not hear this. There was a couple who left the bar, and
See how often this happens with me and Rob?
Yeah, I
this
do.
This is our relationship.
and I hear this was like shortly after Patrick had been acting out. And
Like a child.
I hear one of the people leaving.
It was 31 to
being
10.
like, I'm glad someone has something in their life that makes them that happy. Like that was You know,
Wow.
I wish I was that into my
It's a
team.
little
like,
patronizing, isn't it?
yeah.
It is a little bit.
But that's okay.
It is.
And also, they were
taking it
probably cutting their evening a little shorter than they'd intended.
Oh, yeah. I wish I enjoyed this evening as much as he enjoyed this football.
They don't even know. They don't even know which one we were looking at.
Yeah.
There were multiple games
Right.
on.
True.
Although by the end of the night, it had all the TVs.
You weren't wearing
That's because
that.
the game was so good.
I was not. I wore this because they won.
I
Not
see.
be-
It's a celebratory shirt.
Yes.
Can
Did
we
you pack it just in case?
talk
Yes.
about
I didn't bring my Bears festive jacket. I thought about it.
video games?
Sure.
How long has this been, Connor?
It's been about 40 minutes.
That can't be true.
Keeping it tight.
No, it can't be. It can't be.
There
No,
was
that
a-
was
wait,
not 40
no,
minutes.
no.
that includes a story that's not going to get cut.
It's 20
right?
minutes.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Lead in.
Well, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back,
Wait, really?
we have to take a break.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah,
Do
sure.
we?
Yeah.
We
these
do for
podcasts have
ads.
breaks.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
When
know
we
that.
come back, we're going to talk about the greatest video games of the decade.
Hopefully, it's not some foreign army. Let us know.
Oh, for the advertisement.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be. Let us know.
We'll get it flagged.
Happy holidays.
Depends on which foreign army.
Nope.
Rob.
And we're back. So, as we've set up earlier this week, we have rules this year because Patrick insisted on it
I did.
because he's a dad. Mm-hmm. And he said, no more 5-star run times.
Damn.
I can't believe you've done this. I can't believe.
This is the reaction I was going for, though. You doing this is exactly why I wanted to set the structure.
Natalie looks down and downtrodden.
I feel personally attacked. It's not my fault that sometimes I think more. And
You know what?
I
True.
say more.
That's right.
And maybe I talk longer.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with
Agreed.
I think 30 minutes is bullshit. That is no time. That is time for me to say hello.
You're going to hear something really bad in a second.
What?
that. You
Patrick,
actually
You wanna-
you actually only give 5 minutes.
What?
It's a 30-minute podcast. Well, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25.
But then but we know there's topics that are not. So we're talking about games of the decade.
Yes.
And that means that we each have one of those.
Uh-huh.
And it means, to some degree, I'd like to talk about video games of the decade in like a broader sense. So it's like a 5-minute intro. So we're going to cut this 5 each. That ain't much.
Okay.
So
I'll go short.
I'll probably go short too. Well, we'll see what these games are because there could be overlap. That's the other thing.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
true. I
So-
have no idea what
And if you go
anyone
short,
else's
you can
game are.
the time can be punted.
Right. Totally. So how do we want to start this? Do we want to start this with a general conversation, or do we want to start this with someone's specific game?
I think we should start with people's games and then
And if we have
what was
time-
the takeaway
Right.
from it? Well, we will have by definition.
Right. We'll have at least 5 minutes. Kato.
Fucking
Do we
stressed.
want?
Fuck, my first day fucking back. Fucking stress me out.
All right, so I guess don't set it for 30 minutes. Just set it for 5.
Do you want us to do what? Okay. All
and
right.
we'll just keep track of extra time if we have it.
Sounds good.
Do we? Well, we need to come up with a sound.
We do need a sound. Yeah, can we just get an air horn?
Sure.
Thank you.
I mean, we had one.
Yeah, it was. That was a good air horn.
I mean,
Thank you.
honestly, since this entire thing is about playing Natalie off,
Wow.
you should just get
Wow.
get that track from the Oscars.
Can we get it? Can we get Kingdom Hearts?
That's so good.
That is
That's
so
really
good.
good.
Can you look up Kingdom Hearts sound effects? Just see what comes up.
I was at a ramen
Is there like a
shop the
Kingdom
other
Hearts
day,
soundboard?
and they started playing.
When you are.
Yeah, what is the name of that song? Why am I
away.
blanking?
Simple and clean.
Simple and Clean, and that put me in my
Block Dash.
feelings.
Block
I
Dash,
didn't think it would.
You clever little sneak.
Ew.
Whom?
Fuck that. I hated that one. That's
You really shouldn't have betrayed us.
that's good. Yeah,
Yeah, that
that's
one.
good. That's good.
That's it.
Please, is there talking in the background?
I think so.
Huh?
What the hell?
That's the sound Patrick makes when Mitch Trubisky throws an interception, and the rest
In
of
the
you can
red
hear the
zone,
rest
yeah.
of the in the red zone. You can hear the rest of the bar like chattering in the background.
Huh?
See? Huh?
That's our audience. We're in front of a live audience.
I thought you were saying that our audience is the ones going like, huh?
Oh,
Well,
also that.
Yeah. All right. Patrick, these are your rules. I'm going to make you abide by them first.
Sure.
Are
Yeah,
you
I need an
ready?
example of this.
Are
I'm
you
ready.
ready with the timer?
No. Yes. On your marks.
We gotta hit the sound.
Get set.
Huh?
Patrick Klepek, what is your game of the decade?
Wait, we were supposed to have picked these coming in?
Yes. 1.
2, 3, 4,
It's
5.
yeah. For me, it's Spelunky.
Aw.
Which came out in what, 2013? 2014? I'm not sure exactly what year the Spelunky came out. If someone wants to look that up. Spelunky helped, is the same time that I played Dark Souls from start to finish. Those overlap entirely back to back. I was looking up the timestamp on this before we started recording. I was like, did I play Spelunky first or Dark Souls first? And I started playing Spelunky, and then it overlapped with me playing Dark Souls because my wife went on vacation. I was like, I'm actually gonna play Dark Souls. She was gone for like a week and a half, and Dark Souls 2 is coming out in like a couple of months, and I wanted to be on that train or at least figure out that game for myself. And both Spelunky and Dark Souls, what they have in common, and Spelunky, what they unlocked was like, those games are really hard and really punishing and like force you to abide by their rules. And so many games are about, no, like do what you want, like approach the game how you want. And like those are games that forced you to understand what they were doing and then work your way through them. And Spelunky was the game that I used to call games like Spelunky and Dark Souls like, oh, they're punishing or masochistic. And it's like, I just don't get why people play these fucking games. And said it in a derogatory sense. And then Spelunky was what unlocked for me, oh, I see. Like, I see the appeal of having a game that, like, slaps you on the wrist and says, maybe pay attention a little bit harder. Like, see what's going on here. I'm also noticing that Rob's just frantically Google searching, trying to figure out what game he's going to pick.
Excuse me, I am just methodically going through Wikipedia's blank year in video gaming articles.
Great.
And so the reason it's my game of the decade is, one, I think Spelunky has been deeply influential in ways that are maybe not as clear as a game like a Dark Souls or something, where you can see like a very clear A to B on like where it impacted other games. But personally, it's my game of the decade because of how it changed my understanding of what I liked about video games. And it's like there are precious few video games where I can say like, oh, this changed how I looked at a medium and what I enjoy about it or what I can potentially enjoy about it. I don't know what Austin is doing either. He's listening to his...
I'm trying to listen. Don't worry about it. We're good.
Okay. And so that's why it's my game of the decade. Because it changed my perspective on games.
Yeah.
I don't know a higher compliment I can give than that.
It's interesting too that you highlight it's just about you and your experience with that game. It is not about the impact it had. It is not about like, hey, this is part of a huge wave of roguelikes and roguelites that brought a whole bunch of new people into that.
I think
thing.
it did unlock
all
it
that
for
stuff.
a lot of people.
But for you, what it mostly unlocked was a type of play that let you then go back and play a bunch of other types of games that you just didn't.
It recontextualized other games for me. Like playing it alongside Dark Souls, like makes total sense because those games are in concert in a lot of ways about what it's asking or pressing the player to do. And so it's, same way with like Monster Hunter. It is cool to become a fan of a new thing and to be excited alongside other people. Like, I get why you're excited, and I get to be one of those people too. And Spelunky just didn't do that for... we've talked about our reservations with Spelunky 2, and I don't know how excited I am for a sequel other than like a general sense, but what Spelunky unlocked was just, like you said, a style of play that is now compatible for me, and that opens up a whole range of experiences that otherwise I would have I outright dismissed. It wasn't just, it's not for me, I dismissed it. And in the same way, like our appreciation of Kingdom Hearts, even if I don't really like those games, I now understand it, and I appreciate that I understand it.
Cool. I think that's under 5 minutes, probably. Kato, where are we at in time?
Yeah, a minute left.
All right, so we have an extra minute.
6 minutes.
So can you keep
of
track of
wildcard time.
what we have in the bank?
Yeah.
I can do that too. That would let
Yes,
Kato,
that would-
I'll let
would-
Kato focus on.
Yeah.
everything
Okay, so we have
else.
an extra
We're
minute
at
in the bank.
6 minutes right now total.
+1.
Plus one.
Fuck.
Also,
Who's next?
People can engage with the conversation.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just like I gotta keep talking for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like just to be clear.
So who wants to go next?
Well, it's funny. I feel like I have a very similar reasoning for the
Are you
game.
going?
It sounds like you're going.
Yeah, we're.
But I don't want to go.
Am I going?
All right, Kato.
Yeah. Yep.
Kato.
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 Hey, no, yeah. I
What
also
is
have
your
like,
game of the decade?
for a similar kind of idea of like it made me become more aware or different, like look at games differently, Undertale, game of the decade. The way that, and it's such a simple game, but the way that it integrated like pretty obviously like its mechanics with its ultimate like message and narrative was something that seemed so holistic in a way that I felt like a lot of games that I had played before, you can kind of see the like seams of gameplay and narrative butting up against each other a lot of times because of the way like you tell story through cutscenes, right? Like you're not playing that, and even though like Undertale has things that are similar to cutscenes, like places where you're not technically controlling it, something about the way that they kind of conceptualize the world as existing, the save system being kind of the all of the ways that it broke the fourth wall, and then also but then also within that told like really made you care about these characters, like made you like had good enough writing to hold up the belief that this world was something worth kind of protecting almost, right? Like by the end of that game, by the time you get through the like the last bits and you have like options to reset and stuff, like I could never, the only way I've ever replayed that game is on a different computer.
Yeah.
Doing a new,
Yeah.
like
I
doing a
will
new
never
fucking
touch.
save.
I will never ever touch that game
Exactly.
again. It would feel like a betrayal of the way that game went. For
Exactly.
me.
Totally. Yeah. Like that those people were happy, and I had to leave them alone to live their lives, right? And this came at a moment where I was in grad school and kind of feeling stuck in a way, like thinking about my art making and like what my career would be, to the point where like I had always, and like I was at this point also making art about games, and I personally considered like certain aspects of games art in that fine art sense, but it's like when you're outside of the like the sphere of critique, I was finding myself having those arguments of like, are games art, and like seriously considering it only for the like first time because of Undertale. Like before that, it was like there's good and bad. Like you can critique things on like scales. I was into numbers, easily digesting like what this game is, and like it's all and that's because like there was that separation. Like in art school, you're not fucking. Sorry.
I can track it for you.
There aren't numbers, but like numbers had been such a like thing for games growing up. Like sitting at the EGM, flipping through like scrolling through like this kind of the way that you could quantify games made them graphics and narrative
Sound,
and
gameplay
were
was
all
its
different
own thing.
things,
Yeah.
right? And like it was it seems like such a simple thing, but the way that game kind of integrated it all, like finally clicked something in my head where I was like, oh shit, like fucking games have been integrating these better than I've seen and felt or like understood before this game, but this is the one that like
opened
did
that
it.
up. Yeah.
That like made me feel it in a way where I was like, I should like re-examine the way I've been thinking about this medium as a whole.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be here.
What a gift that is.
I wouldn't be here without Undertale. I wouldn't have even tried
to
to like be in this sphere in the critic. Like, so that's why.
That's
Did
great.
you, where did you play it in the like the Undertale phenomenon arc? Like once it already taken off, like you already knew the trick to the game by the time you play it.
No, I didn't. I didn't know anything going in. I had like it had already blown up. It was out for a bit, enough that people were talking about it, and a friend of mine, shout out to Nikki Foley, who works at Nickelodeon, bought it for me. Like I wasn't even looking to like get it. She was like, "It's $10 here." Like, and it was I was in grad school. I didn't have any fucking money.
Of course.
So like, shout outs.
And here you are now.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
a
good
lovely
answer.
art to
That's
that
a great,
story.
Yeah, that's a great art.
I'm here because of art Undertale.
Yeah, Undertale was
Absolutely.
definitely one of the ones I was debating in my head. God damn it.
What did you find? Is this like a broader one?
Yeah, this is
What's
a
under
great one.
X? What's under X?
Take this. Okay.
Take this is what you say when somebody makes a hot take at this
Yeah,
table.
that's true. What is this? Wow.
Oh, that is so good! It's so good! That is so good! Oh my god! That just fucking hit me so hard. I was about to fucking.
There's moments happening here in the studio.
Hopefully the energy came through the mic because there's a lot of
There's
physical
a lot of
movement
crying
occurring.
in the club happening in the studio.
Seriously.
Absolutely.
Who's up? Who's got something? Rob, have you scoured the internet enough?
Do you need more
Do you
time?
need more time? I can go. If you need me to go.
Go
give
for
me-
it.
Okay.
All right, hold on.
I'm holding.
Huh?
So I'm going to. I thought I had an answer this morning. That answer was going to be Breath of the Wild, which is probably my favorite video
That's what
game
I would have
of the last
predicted.
decade.
Yeah.
But I realized, one, Waypoint has always been about all sorts of different types of play, not just video games. And two, if I think about what has been the game that I've kept coming back to the most in the last decade, the game that's defined it is a tabletop game, which is called Dungeon World by Adam Koebel and Sage Latora, which
The one we
is
played on
the one
the.
we played on the launch stream. Yeah, we played with Adam. Adam came and ran it. And it is there's if I could also do the thing that I suggested with around Spelunky is like I could have the conversation that is like here's how this thing influenced the genre of tabletop role playing games, or even I could have chosen a different one to be a little bit more specific. Apocalypse World by D. Vincent Baker and McGuee Baker is probably the one that is the most influential of the last decade of independent role playing games. It's like Dungeon World, a game that's like simplified roles compared to the sort of like big successful games like Dungeons and Dragons, and moved the sort of focus to a kind of collaborative conversational thing and did all sorts of great groundwork. But it was Dungeon World that I played the most. Dungeon World was the tabletop role playing game that was kind of the anchor of Friends at the Table, the podcast I launched like 5 years ago with a bunch of friends. We came back to Dungeon World every other year since then. So like I've been telling a story with Dungeon World for 5 years. It's a game that I think sells the promise of indie tabletop role-playing games really clearly, and it has been since it came out in 2012. It's a game that instead of asking you to count individual arrows in your quiver, is only really cares when it's narratively interesting that you might be running out of ammo. It's a game that instead of having a huge list of spells, it really kind of boils down to what's interesting about casting a spell, about potentially losing touch with magic. It's a game that gives you the tools to tell stories that, even though it's still playing with familiar archetypes, you pick a paladin, you pick a cleric, you pick a ranger, and it has all of the kind of like familiarity to that style of fantasy if you want it. It also gives you the freedom to describe what you do instead of look at your list of things you're allowed to do.
Like tools instead of rules, if that's like a basic
I mean, totally. I think like there are people in the tabletop space who'd be like, no, obviously not tools instead of rules, but that's exactly it.
But yeah, like
That's
it's
100%
It's
it.
like it's a box to be in, but it's not
Correct.
a box to keep you contained.
Right. And I think one of the biggest things about these styles of games, in terms of running them and playing them with your friends, is that from the jump, the system is so clear that hacking it is something that's imaginable. You can make it yours. You can add new stuff to it because the basic dice mechanic is so simple.
Which is
right?
you did a lot in terms of like, oh, we've got a bunch of newcomers who are
Right.
doing this. We're going to toss out some
Toss
things
out some
so we can
stuff,
have some fun.
we'll have some- and you can do that with D&D, but there is a real argument to be made that unless you're playing the game, why play the game if you're not playing the game, right? This stuff is in there for a reason. We've done a lot of balance testing and blah, 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 blah. Dungeon World, Apocalypse World, the kind of powered by the apocalypse stuff, the stuff that's come after that, but influenced by it in a big way, carries forward this idea that like, one, a game is a conversation. That is what it is. A tabletop role-playing game is fundamentally a conversation between people, and the rules are there to kind of guide that conversation. And two, if you want to do something that isn't in this book, here are the ways to build that thing. You're going to be rolling 2 dice plus some amount of numbers. If you get over a 10, the good thing happens. If you get under a 6, a bad thing happens. If you get a 7 and 9, it's going to be complicated. And that's the other big thing that this style of game added was like, no more hard no's. No more you don't get in the door where there's interesting stuff. No more I have to do 18,000 damage to the dragon. Like, the dragon's gonna have 18 hit points, but how do you take 18 hit points off of a dragon is a really interesting, complicated thing in a world where regular, weapons can't hurt a dragon. And it's like, okay, well, that's a narrative question, but it's being mechanized in a really interesting way. The other great thing about it, and the reason that it's my game of the decade, is I think to some degree answering what is the blank of the decade should almost have like it's done. It's the game of the decade because the decade is over now. And this can't be the game of the next decade, because when I look at the games that are coming out now, the stuff that is Forged in the Dark, which is another kind of subgenre of big tabletop games right now, the stuff that is belonging outside belonging, there's like these new schools of thought that make Dungeon World almost antiquated. But it's an antiquated necessity. It's like a stepping stone to what comes next. It's opened up the door. It and Dungeon and Apocalypse World and the other games in that series or that kind of sub school have opened up the door for so many new types of game creators.
The same way about Spelunky, right? That's the whole reservation of Spelunky too.
Exactly.
I don't know that I want Spelunky too. I want the person who is inspired by Spelunky that makes something that genuinely surprises me.
Yeah. So that is it. That is my game, Dungeon World.
Wow.
Check it out. What's good?
Literally seconds.
Yeah.
Woo.
Got it.
Got it
all right.
memorized.
Okay, do we need... hold on. So now we have two left.
Point to your head.
Natalie and Rob.
Rob, how you feeling now?
Rob, do you want to have the
Natalie, is it too much pressure to go last? Would you feel better to go now?
Yeah,
Because I'm
I don't wanna
fine
be last.
putting
I don't
that to
wanna
Rob.
have the- I don't wanna have the
Rob
last
can
word.
be
Rob
last.
can be last.
Rob has last words.
True.
All right.
It's on the gloves. Huh?
Okay, so my game. All of you guys have said things that make me want to change my game of the decade.
Do you want to talk through it?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So first, I thought about Undertale because I thought about like how moved I was by the end of that game.
Totally.
That was like an all-time great game playing experience. Was watching you finish that.
That was like that meant a lot to me. Then I thought about Breath of the Wild because Breath of the Wild is like the number one game I think about while I play other games since playing it.
That's good.
That's a really good way of putting it.
And it's like the number one game that has influenced the way I even play other games. Like I feel like I am more exploratory in other games because Breath of the Wild
It gave you
taught me
universal
that.
verbs to interact with other games.
Yeah, totally. So, and I think Breath of the Wild was one of those games that I genuinely wanted to be in that world. I genuinely wanted to like I was watching how other characters were going about, sort of their day and their business. I was like watching other lives go on around me in like kind of an immersive sim sense. But then when you're talking about like, I think there's elements of this in Breath of the Wild, but when you're talking about a game that has taught me to appreciate other games or has taught me to like open the door to other games, I think it's like a halfway split between Hollow Knight and Bloodborne, where those are like
I see the crossover between those two.
there are like those are two games. Hollow Knight at like in both a platforming and combat and like that sort of punishing gameplay and really needing to figure out mechanics and systems in order to like it's like mastery of mechanics in order to push through that game. It like you can get by on the skin of your teeth and you can do that with Bloodborne too. But for the most part, your success will come from mastery.
Yeah.
And that was just, I've said this before on podcasts, but that was just never a thing that I ever imagined myself enjoying or attempting in any games. But I think it comes from first having started Bloodborne. I was trying to think of what came first. Like, was it Hollow Knight or was it Bloodborne? And I think it was starting Bloodborne on the 8-hour stream that I was like, and having that as a social game that I was playing alongside you guys and alongside like our audience and Twitch chat and that kind of thing, that gave me the momentum to keep going because Hollow Knight is me doing it on my own, and Bloodborne was like me doing it in front of an audience. But I don't think I would have taken the first step if I wasn't like sitting on the couch with you guys.
And you got the motive. You realized you could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can take this, take it home. and keep
Exactly.
going.
Except that you didn't actually take it home and keep going because your save was on the work PS4.
Yeah, you played the whole game on stream, right?
Yeah,
the
all
whole
the way
game-
through.
The whole game.
Those games are so much like that game as performance is so much fun. Like I enjoy streaming games like that because the audience interaction is like key to my enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
But also, it's a motivating factor. Like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it for fucking them. Get back in there.
Not for
kick that boss's ass.
myself, who is a piece of shit for not getting this down, but for you guys.
I should have blocked. I'm sorry.
Shout outs to our community and also our mod team, which is like, because you can get a bad Bloodborne or Dark Souls audience who is
Absolutely.
just cruel.
You
and,
should do that.
Yeah, fuck off.
And,
No.
and shout outs to
Don't use magic.
the two people that came and helped me beat the final.
That
boss,
that
yeah.
was so great.
which was in the middle of
Rest
the
in peace,
fucking
big
night.
boy.
That was amazing.
Rip big boy. What a big. Well, yeah, big. Did you beat the final boss? Yeah.
done.
You got the total full true ending.
Absolutely done. Yeah.
Damn. Did the damn
We
thing.
finished.
Congrats.
So I think those two games are games that taught me that I could play any game.
Yeah.
Like I could genuinely find enjoyment in any type of game. Which I just never really expected. I like really confined myself to like a box of like, these are what I'm allowed to play and what I'm
As you
allowed
get older,
to
that's like
enjoy.
natural. It's like, oh, this is what I like. I'm gonna go find more what I like, and like it's so satisfying to like, oh, actually, there's a different box, a different set of tools I could be playing with.
Totally. So yeah, I think those are all the ones that came to
That's
mind.
good.
I'm sorry I brought 4.
That's fine, but
No,
there's a
just
through
fucking
line.
Waypoint
It's
is a
not
through
look.
line. Also,
there are
even Breath
rules,
of the,
but there are
even
not
Breath of the
rules.
Wild has
tools, not
elements.
rule.
Tools. There you go.
That's the time limit is a tool. The structure is a tool.
Even Breath of the Wild, I think, has elements of it because there are genuinely difficult moments in Breath of the Wild that I think in previous Zelda games were okay. It's like a puzzle I have to beat.
Yeah.
But in Breath of the Wild,
Axel.
no.
You can finish your line.
Finish your line.
Okay. In Breath of the Wild, like you can brute force your way through the beginning in a way that like if you really just get that system, you can understand how to push through. So I think there's elements of the
Totally.
Best of winning of a video game of the decade, Breath of the Wild.
yeah. So I think
You walk out on that fucking
I would-
plane and you
yes.
get out of that
It's so
cave.
good.
yeah, that's why I think I would say if I had to say one, I would say it's Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
That has elements of all the
Of
things.
all that stuff.
Yeah. So the
We've
end.
come down to it. Rob Zachney.
Rob.
How
This
you
was
feeling?
hard.
Rob takes
Yeah.
a beer into his hand.
The
Yeah,
panic
it's-
he had when he wait, what? We had to
Doing
come
this
up with a
now?
Are you
That's
ready?
my job to forget.
That was
homework.
on the nose, right? We didn't gain any time. Okay, 6 minutes left after Rob's.
soliloquy.
All right.
Wait, we need a hold on sound effect.
Hold on. Hold on.
Starting a timer.
Huh?
Put 5 minutes on the clock. Mo.
You sending a text?
Yeah, sorry. Okay. We're good.
You up?
No.
Oh my god.
I mean, she is, but
Huh?
All right. We're
Rob
live?
Zachney, we're live.
So I've said before that like it takes a long time for me to know how I feel about something. Like my feelings about things are fundamentally mysterious to me.
We had this
And, like,
conversation this morning, even.
yeah, and like years later, I will be surprised by what resonated with me. It turns out, like, what is it of all the things that happened to you 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Those are the memories that are happiest. Those are the memories that grieve you the most. I'm always surprised by what they are because they're never the ones I would have picked. So a lot of games, like I was sort of wrestling with this because there's games that I know had a huge impact on me. Like strategy games like Europa Universalis 4 kind of changed my relationship to what strategy games could or should be. The arrival of the new XCOM series in this decade brought an entire genre back into being almost and created a lot of imitators that I've really enjoyed. And has generated some of my favorite memories of like cooperative play. But as I look over like games of this decade, I was really surprised to sort of realize that a lot of the things that still hit me the hardest were from very early in the decade. And I kept returning to two games that surprised me because they're not the games that I would be like, here, let me show off my critical taste by like dropping these on you.
No, yeah.
The two games I kept returning to were Bioshock 2 and The Witcher 2.
Ooh.
And I think the thing these things both have in common is they're both refinements in some ways or progressions of what the original games are trying to do. but they're not burdened with expectation or scale. And I think in many ways this is the story of the decade. Is there's so many good ideas that just get all these expectations like weighed on them.
We were just talking about Far Cry 3, 4, and 5 in the Immersive Sim episode very briefly.
Right. You can't just have a good idea. You can't just tell a good story. Mass Effect 2 comes out in a similar era.
Yeah.
Mass Effect Andromeda, again, wrestles with this. It can't just be a good Mass Effect story. It has to be this blown out new launch of the second half of this IP. Yeah. And I return to these games a lot because I think they are both about wrestling with mistakes in some ways, and they both have a lot of sadness in them. And that's my shit. I love games that sort of, you're the hero, but like your ability to be a hero, your ability to set the world right is realistically limited. And both of those games sort of struggle with that. I think my heart is with like Bioshock 2, because the end of that game, when it sort of reveals what it's really been about, is it's not about you. It's what your moral code passes on into the world, right? Like you are the role model for the most powerful kid in existence, right? The person who's going to take all the power that was seized in Rapture. And like, what is she going to be? She could be, awful, or she could be sort of a merciful goddess. And in some ways, like what it is, how you are reacting to the people that have wronged you, how you are wielding your right to vengeance versus the call to mercy. That's what the game hinges on, and the way it pays off in the third act remains one of my favorite moments of this decade.
Minerva's Den too, right? Bioshock 2?
Yeah, yeah. But I think ultimately I liked The Witcher 2 just a bit more because to me it's the perfect Witcher game.
Yeah.
It's not so fucking big, but it is. But it is about.
But it is big.
But it is big. It's a big game and some big ideas. It is about literally the presence of history. That like half the game is spent. You are walled off from progressing by the spectral battle that is being waged from a war that was fought decades earlier.
Right. Well, and it's the bigness from that game is almost it's meant to dwarf you. It's meant to say. I quoted the 18th Brumaire earlier. Men make their own history, but they don't always choose how they make it. And like there are limits to what it needs to suggest a bigness, a breadth of the world, like you said, a historical weight.
You're a player in history, but you are not history.
Exactly.
And it ends tragically. The things you are trying to prevent, you cannot prevent. The evil people that you identify and you try to stop from carrying their plans to fruition, you cannot fully stop. History has momentum that is beyond you.
It sounds like Final Fantasy 14 255.
And in the end of that game, it's very much just about what can I salvage from this? What can I preserve? What can I live with? What are the personal obligations I've kept? And I think it is probably the strongest, most distilled version of The Witcher. It's like everything that was cool about The Witcher 1.
Witcher 1's pretty fucking broken. That's a hard game to go back to.
But you see where I was pointing.
Oh,
I was pointing to The Witcher 2.
Yes.
The Witcher 3...
You can finish your thought.
Yeah, so I think The Witcher 2 is kind of representative of this moment of people who had large ambitions but productively limited means. And I think the story of this decade is
that
the means begin to, like, you either don't get the means at all, or they begin to scale beyond your ability to use them.
Wow.
Yeah, I know how
Cyberpunk.
I know how Waypoint worked. Oh, you're on Cyberpunk. I thought you don't get the resources you need to achieve.
Well, the opposite of that is
Cyberpunk. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like all the resources in the
let's
world.
Let's start a 6-minute clock for this final open
Hold on.
table.
Give us
us
a really bad sound effect.
Give us the best one.
Bad or best?
Yes.
Best.
Those are not
they're-
necessarily.
yeah. We're talking about.
Well, that was like half our time right there.
Where's the other one? Where's the one that made everyone hype?
Oh, this one?
Oh,
You were early. There it is. You missed it.
Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum.
The true game of the decade.
I just realized, by the way, the way we've recorded all this, we have no plan for how they're going up.
Not at all.
We
It
have
might
basically
actually end up
done
being chronological.
We have
Yeah,
done
I
her
think
story.
so.
We've done her
Oh my
story of Waypoint podcast.
Yeah.
There was like, hold on, you haven't started the timer yet, have you?
No, I
So-
haven't.
My favorite's going to be is that we record a podcast where Austin gave early impressions of a MechWarrior game in which next week we'll record a podcast where he records updated impressions of a Muck
because a
Warrior
patch
game.
has hit since my last
He'll
time I
play
played
another
it.
10 hours
Yeah.
in between then and that. It's just
It's
wonderful.
very
What a
good.
great.
We should just release everything line by line, like Hearst, like just
Yeah.
a complete grab bag. That'd
Anyway.
be great.
Okay.
2010.
Cut that game together.
Cut, please. That's all. That's light work,
Yeah.
right?
Jesus Christ.
We'll give you like next week. Well, half of next week. Glad you agree.
2010 to 2019 has been a really interesting set of years for games. I think there's a lot of like mechanical stuff we could talk to, or like industrial in
They're
terms
finally art.
of, right. Yeah.
Oh, we made it.
We
They
made
get
it.
protected by the
God damn
Supreme
it.
Court in that decade.
That's true. That's true. We've hit a situation, I think, where there feels like there's a new normal in terms of the like how do you play your games and where do they show up, and we're like, with a rare exception, past the point of exclusives being the thing that drives conversations and drives like people are just talking about games, and we have a really 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 lively independent scene. You think about like the early 2010s coming off of the XBLA stuff, that era of like the like proto auteur, the
Braid.
indie game, the movie like generation of game designers, to now where there are countless game designers trying their hand. And my biggest question is like, what is the takeaway for making video games in the 2010s? Like, is it sustainable? Is it healthy that I could open Steam any day and get 100 new games that have shown up?
Too many games. There are, like,
Is
you
that
can't,
true,
like,
or is that
No.
music?
No, but I mean what's the term for it? Peak TV, right? Like, I think at the end of this decade is we are now in peak game, in which you can't play everything. You have to choose. You have to pick and choose. Realize you can't be part of every conversation. Like, I think of this just from like a critical perspective. Just like you just can't. It used to be the case that if you were playing games, you could play all the big games, play in chronological order, like you could keep up with games. That is just not the case.
Yeah. And also, I've never felt like the power of like hegemonic culture more, because there's so many small things that I don't even hear about until they've already had their run inside of a small community somewhere. Right. Like, oh yeah, you didn't play such and such a thing. Like, I didn't know it existed, and I'm trying my best to keep up.
Right.
I feel like there was almost previous to like the 2010s, there were like everyone played every single game that was coming out. Like you were always kept up on
every
a new
magazine
thing.
cover,
And
every commercial.
yeah,
This is the game.
Right. This is
Video
the
game time.
Yeah, and now I feel like it's okay to be in your own kind of space and to be like, I know what I like, and it's not necessarily genre defined, but it's like maybe mechanic defined or narratively defined, or maybe it's like I like a certain subsection of like types of development or things like that. But I feel like there's
a bigger audience for smaller communities too, right? I think that is like the rise of itch.io, like the rise of just you can be into a thing, and it used to be like no one else is into that. There's no community that's going to buy this. There's no community that's going to build around it, and it's just less true these days. Like there are lots of communities and lots of people with like varied interests, and it doesn't mean it's perfect. Like obviously it's still fucked up. All those labor problems, like exasperation of labor problems is not that crunch didn't exist in the 70s and 80s and 90s, but boy is it 1,000 times worse now at the scale that games are made. That is
and there's also now
worse.
the other thing is like with the hope of independent developers trying to make it big, there's lots of people taking out personal loans, and there's the fact that the market has opened up and that there are better tools also has made it more and more likely that people are going to go deep into their own debt to try to follow that dream. I think that's
the problem of indie game the movie.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
like I'll just make the game and then I'm rich.
Which is like not
it's like,
the
well,
case.
One, no, and then two, also those games, not exclusively, but like there used to be a thing called the Steam front page used to be basically if your game goes on the front page of Steam, you're rich.
Yeah.
And that was in the era of Super Meat Boy and Braid. That's not why those developers did as well as they did. Those were great games. Braid's okay. But
yeah.
But that doesn't exist anymore, right? Like even if you use like Steam as a representative of like how things have changed over the years, like it no longer means anything. It doesn't mean nothing, but it's not the way it used to be.
But there's so much. There's like a contention there. There's like indie developers just trying to make stuff and put it out there, and then there's also this like saturation of like the capitalism machine that is just the churn of like what's gonna hit, and it's like the almost algorithmic with real human labor behind it, but it's like it's the stuff on Steam that nobody will ever see, but is like being churned out constantly by like these larger companies. And I think of like mobile games that are like just churning out like something that they hope will hit.
Which is like complicated because like we know, for instance, there are people I know who work in the mobile game sphere doing really good writing work on the sorts of games that we will never cover at Waypoint.
No, like Apple Arcade comes on, like new good games again, and then like I heard from a couple people like, actually, there's still some good stuff happening out there. It's just hard to find. People don't usually write about it. You know, it's just
If I can change the subject, because I know we only have a second or two left.
How much time do we actually have left?
49 seconds.
Okay.
Quickly, once around, are there games we forgot about or games that we...
No, this is separate. We can do this separate.
We can?
I will give us 5 minutes for games that we...
Thank you for the tools, not rules. No rules, just right. Outback. Sponsored by Outback. We're not sponsored by Outback.
But if they want to get in touch...
give me a ring.
Go for a fucking bloomin' onion.
Kyle was talking about Red Lobster earlier today.
I fuck around with a Red Lobster.
Fucking those biscuits. I don't even care about any seafood biscuits.
All right. So
no, I forgot. So when we wrote out the document, it was subplot.
Yeah.
Games you forgot
were this decade.
That were this decade.
Yeah.
I don't have one off the top of my head.
But
the one that does. The one that got me.
All right, 5 minutes.
5 minutes on the clock for this one. Thank you.
Cool. The one that made me like think that was a good discussion point was Human Revolution, Deus Ex Human Revolution. I was like, that was this decade.
Right.
Now,
there were two of them, Rob.
Two of them. I will never forget that game because I was writing my master's thesis when it came out, and I wouldn't let myself play it until my master's thesis was submitted. And let me tell you, it took long to write that thesis. I like had it on the shelf for a month before I was allowed to play it, and it was all right.
Yeah, it was good. Like, it was all right.
Yeah, it was scratch and itch video game. Yes. Yeah, I loved playing it, and then it was just like, couldn't tell you anything about that game other than I didn't ask for this. Like that's the only thing, the enduring legacy.
The ending stuff, the like choice at the very end.
It did some good stuff. Like I don't want to like pretend like it wasn't. But it was sort of a. It was there.
I mean, I think the game is actually better than we give it credit for being. It is ahead of its time in that like the main character you work for, Seraph, is this like titan of industry, like visionary genius who is revealed to be a petulant, cowardly child.
Wait, what's the name of the character in Eliza? That you sided
Rainer.
with.
Rainer.
Oh, okay.
But Rainer's legit. Shout out to Rainer.
That podcast.
But like, so Seraph is a petulant, like cowardly child, and like your girlfriend who is abducted in the initial attack turns out to be an engineer who cares so much more about the work than what it's being used for that her moral compass has been completely kicked out the window. Like I think what keeps that game from making more lists is that final act, the choices it leaves you, are so lacking in nuance and understanding of the themes the game itself has been bringing up.
Yeah, that's
it's just like, I have no idea what to do with this. And I think that's one of the game's major failures, as is its failure to imagine lives beyond the walls of
Do you know what one of the
society.
running theories is? So they never made the third game. And so the second game, there is a woman in red. I believe this is right. A woman in red that you constantly see in the second game. And the theory is that you were playing a clone in the second game. You are not playing as Jensen. Like he dies in the first game and he's been cloned in the second game. And there's some lady in a red dress that is like you come across an apartment at some point. They never finished that third game because the second game didn't do that well. But I liked that game a lot. Like you're right, and it sells it short to say like, oh, they just made another one of those. Like that's not easy. Like even just doing that is hard. And I enjoyed my time with it. It was just by the time the second one came around, it was like we got to do something a little bit different. We
have to change it up.
And the second one revealed that you just can't do that again. Also, remember when they made like that thief game?
I do, and you know what I heard after the fact that like it maybe got a bad rap. Not that it was good, not that it was great.
It wasn't as bad as
but
that game also came out this decade.
It did, and definitely don't remember that.
Yep.
What else? Anyone else have a thing that's like you forgot that this was a game that you cared about at some point?
Doesn't have to be cared about. Just a game you're looking at a list and you're like, that came out in 10 years?
That came out?
I was looking at Portal 2, like just thinking now about, like Valve returning to Half-Life and like that was basically the last narrative game they made and that was 2011.
And now here we are.
And now here we are.
Half-Life Alyx.
I liked Portal 2 quite a bit. One of my favorite videos to ever be a part of was doing the co-op missions with Ryan Davis on a stream. Boy, people were mad. People don't like to watch people play puzzle games. You know what they'll do? Watch it anyway and get mad about it.
They absolutely will. They absolutely will. Anyone else have a game of the decade that you
Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2 came out in the same
decade.
Is that
2010
true?
and then
That's
2018.
2010, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super weird.
I didn't realize that Minecraft was in this decade.
I don't think it is. I think that's wrong.
Really? No, that's got to be
thought it
this
was
decade.
2010.
No, I think that
When
is right.
did Hakuna Mitsu make Minecraft?
Maybe you're right. You're right. 2011,
Wow. Yeah, wow.
probably the biggest game of the decade, bar none.
Feels older.
Yeah, I can't
absolutely.
imagine a game bigger than Minecraft in the 2010s.
Skyrim 2011.
Also, big year, big game.
Fall-
New
I
Vegas,
mean,
we already talked about.
New
on the
Vegas,
brief-
yeah.
Honestly, Fortnite.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Not like
Fortnite's
It's
much-
not even close. It's not even close, y'all.
like really like numbers
No,
wise,
not
like
even close.
amount of players is
Of people who have played
Are we talking about compared to
Minecraft.
Minecraft?
Minecraft
No,
yeah.
I wouldn't say.
versus Fortnite.
I would say those two are probably
The biggest two
are of.
of 2010s.
yeah, yeah.
That's probably right. Maybe I'm wrong also, but yeah, maybe I'm wrong. The total number per
But not to me. Like I don't know. Fortnite
I mean,
hasn't
sure.
like defined things for me.
but
But
will
it
it
is-
in the next the stuff that it feels like it's defining is in terms of one of the other big turns of the decade, a move
Battle
from battle royale. No, it's not even just
And
that.
games as service?
Games as service,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's the move from here's a product you buy on a shelf to why are you buying anything? They're like,
Oh, and also the experience you had will go away.
yeah, 100%. This
just
will not be
ephemeral.
here.
Remember
It
that
will be
map
ephemeral.
that you started with? That's gone.
That's gone.
You'll never see that
I feel
again.
like that's so telling of like even ownership of games.
Yes.
Like
Oh, yeah.
not only do you not own the games you're playing, you don't even own the type of gameplay you're playing in the game. I mean,
But you can't
yeah.
you can't return to it.
Yeah.
If you really like that mech season of Fortnite, it's gone. It's not going
Yeah.
to come
I don't
back.
think
People
any-
didn't like
that
it.
people really
I
didn't
didn't even
like it.
play it. So what the fuck do I know?
Also, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2013, but that game is still alive and well and getting all sorts of new content
Yeah.
regularly.
huge game.
Take this.
Any final thoughts?
hot take.
So when we were discussing the earlier thing about trends and what the next decade looks like,
Yeah.
Austin, you and I were talking about this on Discord a few weeks ago, but about I was going back to the 2005 GDC rant session.
Oh yeah.
And it's where Greg Costigan gives his "My friends, we are fucked" speech as he talks about like what the HD era is going to do for budgets and teams, how it's going to stifle
The
innovation.
case he basically makes is that like HD games are very expensive. It's expensive to make high res assets, and that means that the
We'll
developers
never
are
be
gonna
able to increase font sizes.
get- never ever.
Well, but also he said, and he's like, and they're going to carve some of the expense out of you.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like,
You're
they're,
gonna
like
work-
your labor is
Yes.
going to. It's 80 hour
And
work weeks. all
you're
the way
going
down.
they're going to become more risk averse because it's so expensive.
And in that rant session, other things that raised by other people, Jason De La Rocca commented that he felt like games were xenophobic to other ideas from outside the games and programming spaces. That like there were like it was kind of shocking to me to go like read this rant session from 2005,
Right.
and like this
15
was
years later.
correct then. It remained correct, and I feel like heading in this new era, we are still like conditions in a lot of ways have gotten a little bit worse. I think, and we are still sort of in this industry sleepwalking toward the further like triumph of capital and
Visibility is
managerial
better about the
classes.
problems, but that doesn't mean the problems are
Yeah.
already closer to being solved.
It's the thing that is like so difficult. There's like two things. One is not just visibility. Organization is happening, right?
Yep.
We know that Game Workers Unite exists. We know that like across the world there have been pushes towards better worker organization, towards holding companies accountable.
Riot Game is about to pay $10 million out.
Totally. I wish it was more, but it
Yep.
is what it is.
Yep.
The other, and I think that's a basic positive. It opens the door to a potential larger scale action. I don't know that I see the industry being reformed. I can imagine it blowing up, I guess, and that is what it might take to be reformed and rebuilt in a different way. And the other half of it that is like when I think about the decade, or when I think about going forward, I think I will never live again in a world where people like me aren't making video games. And that fucking slaps. There were going to be black queer people making video games for the rest of my life. It's not that they were not there to begin with, but they certainly weren't in leadership roles. And I don't know if they'll be in leadership roles in the AAA space in the future, but I will be able to go to sites like itch.io. I will be able to open my phone and find that stuff. And it is the double bind of like, that doesn't mean that those people are going to be making a living off of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that even they won't be changed by the machine that wants to incorporate what they do. And this is not like the argument that like representation is more the most important thing. But actually, I'm not even talking about representation. I'm talking about like people getting paid and paying their rent off this and having their voices slowly affect the medium. And it is hard to imagine a 2020s where the sorts of deeply white, homophobic, misogynistic games release without a peep. It's hard to imagine, like, a lot of people talk about the Bioshock Infinite launch and that, like, yes, like, was there criticism of Bioshock Infinite at launch? Some people are like, no, there was never any. But of course there was. There was in the corners of the world that you weren't paying attention to because all you did was read huge mainstream game sites.
And it wasn't until that like added into a culmination of a backlash
Yes.
a couple of months in where it was like, oh, I guess people have problems with this game. So
Right.
People always had problems. And also they weren't at mainstream outlets.
Right. When Bioshock 3 comes out, when Ken Levine's next game drops, if it steps on those same landmines, those conversations are going to happen at IGN. Those conversations are going to happen at GameSpot.
Yep.
Like, those conversations are going to happen in people's Twitter feeds, are going to happen on Facebook, are going to happen on Twitch. And it's going to be a mess because the other side of that conversation is going to be all of the toxic, terrible shit that we didn't talk about Gamergate. We didn't talk about Trump's election. We didn't talk about just like the unearthing or the uncovering or the revelation, the sort of like we turned the opacity slider down on exactly how gross shit was for a lot of folks who didn't know that already. To be clear, a lot of folks absolutely knew that already, but that's revealed itself in the last decade. And if there is one little tiny piece of hope that I have, it is that a lot of people know better. I don't think Waypoint Radio exists a decade ago where we can talk openly about this stuff, period. And like the fact that we
A decade ago,
now,
I don't know that I necessarily knew enough to even speak to it. Like I
Totally.
as someone that was part of the machine,
I know.
grew up in the machine.
Yes.
Like was around Egg Giant Bomb when Bioshock Infinite came out. Our problems with that game were not any of that stuff. I was reading Lee Alexander. I was reading that stuff, but like I am a living testament to how that stuff changes as part of the machine and the impact folks like yourself and others being in that machine can, it's not a perfect machine, but it changes it in the direction of, at the very least, awareness and like people trying to be conscious of what they didn't know and trying to do better.
I think a lot about Alex Navarro inviting folks from Game Workers Unite onto the E3 couch this year. That's a small thing. That's not a big ask on the part of Alex to do that, but that he does that is a thing that's like, let people sit in front of you and explain what is necessary to change labor conditions in this industry. Like, open those doors, have those conversations, slowly push the culture. My hope is that the 2020s continue to do that, even if my belief is that, like Costigan says, like, we are fucked. I just hope that we are...
Well, the other part of Costigan's speech that we forget is he says, it doesn't have to be this way.
Right.
He calls for, we should be rioting in the streets of Redwood City. And tellingly, there's not many studios in Redwood City anymore.
Nope.
But I think the point is, this system only works if you are willing to be lubricant in the gears rather than sand.
Yeah, totally. So, as we tend to say around these parts, we'll be back tomorrow with some more. But until then, fuck capitalism. Go home. Thank you,
But we
Kyle.
can't because we have to record
We'll
one more
record one more
podcast.
podcast. I'm gonna run to the bathroom.
We'll take a real break.
We'll take a real break.
Which one are we leading off with?
Game of the decade.
Game of the decade.
All right, cool.
Ready?
So the way this is going to work is
Don't tell me how this is going to work.
there's a format.
The
Well,
first.
we'll explain the format. Wow. I was like, we should explain the format once we start doing it.
Okay,
Let
that's
me
fine.
do like a quick
Yeah,
intro.
yeah.
Wait.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, I got the timer. Okay,
Thank
go.
you.
Okay. I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm being fucking timed.
Well, yeah, but don't start the timer yet.
Yeah.
Because I have to do an intro.
We'll let you know when the timer starts.
Did you send your timesheet?
Yeah. Did you?
Yes.
No one. They don't make us. They
no
don't
one
make
asking me?
No one's. Did you send your timesheet? You should just send one in.